Now, let's be honest, sometimes smart home tech can feel like more of a hassle than it's worth. My name's Eric Welander. Welcome to my channel all about building an effective Apple smart home. And today I want to tell you about 7 of my favorite items in my smart home that really are helpful on a daily basis. And for each of these products, I'll have links in the description. But first, let's talk about today's sponsor, and that's Surfshark VPN. So Surfshark is a VPN that masks or secures your internet by giving you an encrypted connection to their servers, and then you connect on to the rest of the internet. This can also be handy if you want to connect to the internet as if you're in another country. Now, I like to get out of the house for some peace and quiet, whether that's at the local coffee shop or the local library or any number of other places, and that's great, but those are all places that have open Wi-Fi access points. And that means that either the provider of that Wi-Fi or some bad guy who happens to be on the network can see my activity. And by connecting to Surfshark VPN, all they see is just that I'm connected to Surfshark. And this is also great if I'm traveling using a hotel or airport Wi-Fi. Now, with this kind of deal, I love just having a VPN subscription ready to go, installed on all my devices. But just open the app, tap the connect button, and you're good to go. So you can do the same by checking out surfshark.deals/Welander, the QR code on the screen or the link in the description for 83% off plus an extra 3 months free. Now, let's say you've added maybe a few smart lights, maybe a smart plug hooked up to a lamp, and you can turn those on from your phone, maybe create a scene in the Apple Home app for that, but it's way better if those lights would just come on automatically. So a contact sensor gets tripped when the contact between the two pieces separates or comes back together. So you can use this on a door for when a door opens or a window. It can be great to just, let's say, have the lights in a closet turn on when you open the door, and then when you close the door, those same lights turn back off. But you can also put this any number of places, like let's say a refrigerator or any kind of drawer in your home. And one option I really find useful is here in my office, I have a TV wall mounted, but it's a small room, so when I want to watch TV, I actually pull the TV out from the wall to be in a better location for watching it. And with that, I have a contact sensor on the mount, so when I pull the TV out, the contact sensor separates and it sets my lights for movie watching, just TV watching scene, rather than the way I have my lights set for working at my desk. Now, the Eve door and window is a great option here, and you can also get the Aqara contact sensor. I really like that one as well if you have an Aqara hub. So number 2 on my list is what I call an entryway camera. And this is just any kind of camera that can record clips and give you notifications about events of people coming and going from where you live. Now, if you own your home, one great option here is a smart video doorbell, provided you have power running to your doorbell. And I've covered a variety of options there on this channel. And well, it's not perfect. I think HomeKit Secure Video is a pretty easy option, particularly if you are in sort of the Apple ecosystem. This means if someone rings your doorbell, you'll also get a notification on, let's say, your Apple TV while you're watching that television you pulled out from the wall with your contact sensor. But let's say you don't have power running your doorbell. Well, then I think rather than doing a battery-operated doorbell, I think it's better to look at something like an outdoor camera, maybe the Eve Outdoor Cam, the Logitech Circle View. There are also some battery-operated options like those from Arlo that I've tried, and you can hook up solar panels to those. So some sort of camera pointed at the front of your yard or your driveway, and that's going to give you notifications about vehicles and people or packages coming to your home. Now, if you live in an apartment, what I've done in the past is just point an indoor camera straight at the door to your apartment. And with stuff like HomeKit Secure Video, you can set that camera to not be on when you or anybody else in your Apple home is home. So that way you arrive home, the camera's automatically off. It's not going to record any video, but when you leave, it will be capturing clips of any kind of events it sees at the front door. Now, if you want to get into much fancier video setups with continuous recording and stuff, I made a video last week about my UniFi Protect setup, and why I love that so much for many different reasons of kind of taking video surveillance to the next level. But speaking of more simple, straightforward options, number 3 on my list is a smart lock. So I've been using the Schlage Encode Plus on my front door for about a year now, and it's working really well. And there are 2 things I really love about this lock. First, it has a keypad on the front, so you can assign people temporary or permanent PIN codes for access to your home. And the second is that it supports Apple's new Home Key standard. So this means I can just tap my Apple Watch or I can tap my iPhone to the door and it's gonna unlock. And that's just super handy to not have to worry about analog keys or fussing with anything. You just tap your Apple device on the door and it opens. And I made a whole video all about Home Key last year when it came out. But now I want to talk about number 4 on my list, which is something that doesn't even work in the Apple Home app, and that's a robot vacuum. So I've been playing more and more with different types of robot vacuums, so you'll probably see more videos about that on this channel. But I think having a robot vacuum just stationed in a particular room or area of your home with a sort of a rechargeable base station, and then being able to just send it out to that area to have it vacuumed, whether that's automatically when you leave the home or every night while you're asleep, it can be really nice to just come back to that part of your home and everything's clean and vacuumed. Now, there's a lot of different choices for robot vacuums out there, but one sort of simple guiding factor here is I think the larger the space you're trying to clean, the fancier the vacuum you probably want to get that has more awareness of its surroundings. LiDAR is a really key feature here because it helps those vacuums navigate well in the dark if, let's say, you want it to run while you're sleeping. Now, in a smaller space like my office here where you don't necessarily have a lot of stuff on the floor, I think something like the TP-Link Topo RV10 might be a good option. I've just started testing that here, and I've been pretty pleased with the results so far, especially given that it's only around $200 US. Those kind of vacuums might be a lot cheaper than you were thinking of spending and could work well in a particular room in your home. And of course, you can then get to much fancier options that also do things like mop the floor. Now, number 5 on my list is not quite as exciting as a robot vacuum, but very important, and that's a leak sensor. So it is kind of boring when you buy a leak sensor and you put it somewhere and then it does nothing. I mean, you don't hear from it forever. So I put an Eve water guard here on my sub pump in my basement, and then all of a sudden one day I got a notification that there was water and I was able to deal with that water leak, and it ended up not being that big of a deal. And that's great. I also have Aqara leak sensors that talk to my Aqara hub, and that can be another great option. Those are much less expensive and smaller, but they don't pick up water in as large of an area as the Eve WaterGuard's rope system. But either way, I think having a leak sensor that reports into the Apple Home app is better than other apps I've tried, because sometimes these leak sensors and systems will treat your water leak like your house is burning down and just pester you with tons of notifications and then call your phone. And some of them will even be set up if you have it configured to shut off the water in your home. And sometimes that can be important depending on your situation, but I think a lot of detecting of water leaks, ideally, it detects just a small amount of water and something you want to take care of as soon as you can, but it's not an absolute dire emergency. So Apple's Home app will send you a time-sensitive notification, which means it will get through a lot of different focus modes or things and tell you about the leak, but it's also not going to go crazy over the top and make you freak out about something that is important, but not maybe a complete emergency. Number 6 on my list are smart buttons. And smart buttons, I think, are great to do those tasks that you find you're always asking your voice assistant or your phone to take care of, because you can just do it at the quick touch of a button. I use both Aqara's button as well as the little flick buttons around my home. I love how small the flick buttons are, and they also can talk to things like Sonos or other smart home ecosystems, but I often pair them with HomeKit. Now, you can get pretty fancy with smart buttons, and that might be a topic for another video. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments. But you can, in the Apple Home app, just link a particular scene with a press or a double press of a button. And so like here in my office, I have an Aqara button that I can press to turn off all the lights in my office as I'm leaving, because I always found I was asking the HomePods to turn off all the lights. Another case is I have a flick button mounted under the C table, this kind of like C-shaped table out where we watch TV, and I can use that to toggle the lights on for a dim setting of sort of like an after movie scene, or then turn off all the lights for, okay, we're starting to watch TV, let's get the lights off. The last one, number 7 on my list, is kind of an obvious option, but one where there's a specific feature that I find really useful that you might not have thought of, and that's a smart thermostat. Now, smart thermostats are getting more and more common. If you rent, maybe you can even find a place that has a smart thermostat pre-installed, but if you own your home, a lot of times the power companies here in the US will give you some kind of a rebate or discount because it helps your home be more energy efficient. But either way, I think the smart thermostats that have external temperature sensors are really helpful. And that's because you can put those temperature sensors in another place in your home, and then at a particular schedule, time of day, or all the time, heat and cool your home based off of that temperature sensor, not the temperature at the thermostat. And you might have heard that HomePod minis and the second generation HomePod have a temperature sensor built into those. And that's great for some maybe simple automations, but I wouldn't heat and cool my home off of those. And oftentimes you want to get these temperature sensors for doing this that are meant to work with your thermostat from the same company, because they're going to test out all the details and make sure it works reliably, which for something like this, when you're deciding if your furnace or your air conditioning goes on or off, it's pretty important and something you don't want to be unreliable. Not to say that the HomePods or other temperature sensors are unreliable per se, but let's just play this one as safe as possible. Now, for brands, I really like Nest thermostats. I think they look great on the wall. They're very usable, and I link them with Apple Home via a Starling Home Hub, which I've talked about previously on this channel. Now, that said, Matter is the new universal standard for the smart home, and with that, the newer versions of the Nest thermostat should work with Matter sometime soon, if not already, but that should be an even easier way to get a Nest thermostat into Apple's HomeKit. So let me know in the comments below if there's one of these products or something else that's really useful in your smart home, or if you're thinking about getting one of these items or something else. There are links for all the products as well as today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, down in the description below the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.